Hello and howdy, everyone. Here to talk about one of my favorite films of all time, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It might be number 3 on my list, and really, I always say my favorite films are Jaws and Doctor Strangelove. If I had to pick one movie to watch for the rest of my life, and only one movie, like, desert island scenario, it would probably be Jaws or Doctor Strangelove. But this is, like, right on their heels. And I think the only thing that gives Jaws and Doctor Strangelove is, I don't know, there's some certain level of importance and artistry there that just takes it a tick above this, but this is probably my favorite comedy. I mean, I know Doctor Strangelove is a comedy, but, this is probably my straightforward favorite comedy of all time. I don't know what else to say. I laugh the entire time I watch this movie, and it's not like I laugh every 5 minutes. I laugh all the time while watching this movie. I don't know what it is. I just giggle consistently throughout. It just gets funnier, and then I cry at the end, and I cried this time. It's a Thanksgiving film. It takes place at Thanksgiving. You've got two guys played by Steve Martin and John Candy who are trying to get from New York to Chicago so they can spend Thanksgiving with their wives and families. And they've got, like 48 hours to do it. And this is their adventure of trying to get from New York to Chicago. It doesn't go exactly as planned. It's got a gut punch at the end. I don't know how many times I've seen this film, and I usually cry. I usually cry. I was going to say I got off point. The Train to Make It Home for Thanksgiving. I traditionally have watched this film at Thanksgiving because it's a Thanksgiving film. Thanksgiving is also my birthday, so I've also associated it with my birthday. So it's become quite ingrained in so many joyous aspects of my life that I really can't separate it from it. I mean, I can't say that I watched this movie at any other time other than my birthday and Thanksgiving. But I have the feeling that if I watched it, just to make myself feel happy, that I would be, like, metaphysically confused, because I would be like, well, it's Thanksgiving, It's so ingrained with warmth and togetherness and love that, I don't know. I can't distinguish between, the event of watching it and the film itself. But I think the film is tremendous. It's a solid 10. I think it's Steve Martin's best work. I think it's John Candy's best work. I think it's John Hughes' best work. So there you go. You've got 3 big names at the top of their powers, peak of their powers. You could argue with me about the John Hughes aspect, about his being his best work. Since he's a prominent filmmaker and doesn't really make bad movies, you could certainly argue with me that this is not his best work, but I certainly think it is. I think it's his best screenplay. John Hughes wrote, produced, and directed it. This is a John Hughes film, and again, I think it's his best. And you would have to argue with me that that something else was better than this. I don't know what to say about it. I think I've seen it more times than I can remember. The thing I thought about this time while watching it was that, you've got, this is basically the ultimate bromance. I think any comedic bromantic movie is at some shades aping Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's just kind of the perfect bromance. You've got two guys, polar opposites, pretty much, but yet kind of the same. Traveling together, having to put up with each other. The person watching, the individual watching, the audience, is going to identify more strongly with one of the two, obviously. They both represent very different viewpoints. Again, I think you've got two separate, dichotomies of man here. And you're going to be able to identify and sympathize with one a lot more than the other. But they are both the same man. I feel that together they make up, one complete whole person. And you're basically watching one person argue with himself or itself. And I think that's what the audience does. You're watching this film, and yes, you can identify more strongly with one of the two, but yet you kind of realize that you're watching a film that is just about human nature. And is both of them, are you. And so it's deeply appealing to both sides of, your character. And I think you deeply relate to both characters. And I think that makes it all the more poignant. Every little part, they're so well written, they're so fleshed out, well written and performed. I mean, they're just living, breathing characters. They're they're my friends. I get to see them once a year. And they're my friends, and they haven't changed at all. And they're just beautiful, so it's just so perfectly written, and it's so hilarious. Again, it's non-stop laugh for me. There's something in every scene, in every moment, that I think is at some level of hilarious. So I'm pretty much always laughing until the end when I'm weeping. The cast is stellar. You've got, again, Steve Martin and John Candy at the top of their game, personally, because John Candy is such an inspiration to me. He's probably 80% of the reason I'm out here in Los Angeles trying to be an actor. He's a hero to me. He's an inspiration. He's an icon. So I really think that he should have been nominated for an Oscar for this work. I'm not sure what it got nominated for, if it got nominated for anything. Comedies usually don't, but this film should have been nominated for everything. And John Candy, I see no reason why he shouldn't have won, or shouldn't have been at least nominated to recognize his talent. I guess we didn't know he was going to pass away at such an early age, but he could have used some recognition for this role. You've got, those are the only two cast members listed on the box, but you've got, everyone in here is at least a recognizable face. Like, even the people who don't talk, they're like, oh yeah, that guy. And everyone just, even, I believe this is Kevin Bacon's film debut, and he, plays an asshole, which is great, which has kind of followed him throughout his career. So even we see a young Kevin Bacon in a non-speaking role pretty much cement his career. We also have Dylan Baker, I believe his name is. I'm not sure about that. He's been working forever. He's in everything. I guess most prominently he was Kurt Connors, aka the Lizard, even though he never got to be the Lizard in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. He's awesome in this movie. Just, I don't know what to say about it. Also, it captures, they travel through the Midwest. I'm from the Midwest. They spend some time in St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis. So I enjoy seeing my hometown in a movie. I like them, they're also passed through Jefferson City, a town I lived, in a lot of my life. It's good to see. It's comforting, for some reason, to see places that you've lived, that you actually know, and to see them on, on the big screen. And just to have them in one of your favorite movies. It's probably goes into a factor of why it's my favorite movie, is that I get to see some of my hometowns while I watch the film. And it really captures that, that Midwestern character, that Midwestern lifestyle. It just reminds me of home. It just reminds me of home. Well directed, hilarious, poignant. I suppose the only thing I could even remotely criticize about the film, and even that just locks it into its place in time. And really, you could make an argument about other John Hughes films as well, and that's the soundtrack. The soundtrack is very 80s. The score is very 80s, very synthetic synthesizers, computerized music, not your typical for the time, not your typical movie score, kind of like that. Again, other John Hughes films, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, kind of like that, just odd, electronica music that really just goes hand in hand with the 80s as we look back on it. So that, again, at some points it's just like, boy, the music's kind of weird, but that's like it. And I don't even think about it, I don't even think about it. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. If you've never seen this movie, then I'm horribly confused by that. I don't know what's going on with you. What have you done? What's going on? So yeah, I think I'm pretty much done. I think I would just repeat myself. It's just one of my favorite movies. It's absolutely hilarious. This is at like the top of my list to see on the big screen. I'd love to see this in the theater with a big bunch of people. Because I would just love to go crazy in front of them. I laugh the entire time. The entire time I'm laughing while watching this film. One of the funniest movies of all time. One of the best comedies of all time. One of the best films of all time. And so, yeah, I don't know if I need to say anything more. So that's John Hughes, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's an 11. It's in my Hall of Fame. One of my favorite films of all time, if not my third favorite film of all time. So there you go. Thanks much.